Welcome to another episode of My Experiences Audio Journeys. Today is August 12th, 2026. And I'm going to be talking about something that happened to me, I want to say on Sunday. And it was pretty frightening. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I think I have a pretty good idea based on information that I've run into over the years online. Also, my sister, when she was about 16, had a similar experience. And the way she described it sounds a lot like everything that I've read, and it sounds like what happened to me on Sunday. I think I want to talk about this just because it was frightening. I know at this point, I just started the channel. I don't really have an audience yet. I've only publicized a handful of episodes and I don't have any followers, but I know at some point that could change. So I want to talk about a subject that might bring awareness to people that maybe have never heard of it. I really know nothing about this. So I had to go online and actually do some research to find just some of the basics about it. I was lying on the couch watching television, and I want to say it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was watching Forensic Files. That's one of my favorite shows. And the channel that I like to watch, they have back-to-back episodes. You could just like binge watch, hours and hours of true crime episodes, if that's something that you're into. I just like seeing how the cases are solved with like just a little piece of hair or like a little dot of saliva. You know what I mean? Like you can just find a killer based on minimal little things. Anyway, I digress. I unexpectedly fell asleep. I didn't plan on taking a nap. I'm thinking that I was probably sleep deprived. Combination of working too much and staying up too late, working on hobbies that I have. So I remember I don't even remember falling asleep, but I remember I was watching something about a guy that, I guess he poisoned all these people. He got close to them and poisoned them, hoping that they would put him in their will or something. And then next thing I know, I had fallen asleep. And I remember dreaming. I remember having a pretty vivid and scary dream. In the dream, I remember in the dream, like I say, I was wearing a dress and I was on a city bus in a city that I'm not familiar with. You know how dreams go. It wasn't the town that I live in now. It was a big, noisy city. And I was all alone on a city bus. I was trapped on the bus. There was no driver, no passengers. I couldn't get off the bus. And I just remember panicking in the dream, and I started beating on the windows, trying to get the attention of someone passing by, hoping that they would open the door of the bus and let me get off. I don't know if the dream itself woke me up, but I just remember waking up. But I didn't fully wake up. Something happened to me that's never happened to me before. The only thing I really have to compare it to is what happened to my sister. Also, I remember reading something on a Reddit post. I'm not a Reddit member, but I remember reading a Reddit post a long time ago about this person that experienced something similar. I remember hearing the television. Like as I was waking up, I remember hearing the television in the background. I could hear my bathroom exhaust fan. I could hear the fridge. I was aware of my surroundings. I could hear noises outside. I just remember I was aware that I was in my apartment, that there were, everyday household noises around me. Here's where it got creepy. I tried to sit up and I couldn't move. Now, because nothing like this has ever happened to me before, it's hard to describe it, but I'm going to try the best that I can. So my whole body felt like it wouldn't work. My muscles wouldn't do what they're supposed to do. I remember I was able to partially sit up, but it took a lot of effort. And then I couldn't stand up. I couldn't get up off the couch, and I didn't feel groggy, really. I just felt weird. I want to describe this the best way that I can, but it's so hard to describe when you've never been through anything like this. It's hard to put into words what it felt like. Now, the scary part, the part that really terrified me, was I tried to open my eyes, which is a normal, everyday reflex that we don't think about. You get up, you stretch, you open your eyes, and you start going about your day. Well, I couldn't open my eyes. It was like the muscles, it felt like they couldn't work. It felt like my eyes were glued shut. And it wasn't a groggy, sleepy eye kind of feeling. It was, I just could not physically get my eyes to open. And if you could imagine the terror in that moment, I started to panic. I didn't know what to do. I started feeling around on the couch, struggling with everything in me to get up. I was finally able to get up, move, and open my eyes, but I don't remember how long it took. I would say it felt like an eternity, but in reality, it was probably maybe anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute or more. I really can't say. I'm guessing. It's like wild guess. This whole situation made me think about something. It made me think about what my sister had gone through when she was a teenager. She said she woke up one morning and she was unable to move. She couldn't get up. She could see everything in the room around her, but she couldn't move. And I think maybe it lasted for anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes. Like I say, I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. Then also, I remember reading a Reddit post. They worked in a funeral home, and they shared stories about how when they would fall asleep on the job, they would fall asleep, take a nap, and they were scared that the director was going to come in and catch them sleeping on the job, and they would actually have apparitions and stuff too. It was wild. Like, it sounded really creepy. Like, I like supernatural stuff, so naturally I was, curious about it. Now, what is this? It's called sleep paralysis. I'm not going to pretend that I know much of anything about it, but I did go online and do some research so that I can at least put together some basic facts about sleep paralysis to help people understand what it is. So one of the things that I found out is that sleep paralysis happens when you're awake, but you're temporarily unable to move. It occurs when the brain wakes up before the body fully exits the REM sleep. That would explain why I was dreaming and then all of a sudden this happened. So I think what happened is I woke up right in the middle of REM sleep, right in the middle of my disturbing dream. And I think that's why this happened. But it's all speculation. I don't really know. Something else that I also read online is that episodes usually last a few seconds to a few minutes. I'm looking over a list of some things that I saw online. It says some people may feel pressure on their chest or have difficulty breathing. I don't remember having any breathing difficulties. Sleep deprivation can increase the likelihood of an episode. Stress and irregular sleep schedules may also contribute. Sleep paralysis can happen when falling asleep or waking up. Sleeping on your back, which is surprising, has been associated with a higher likelihood of episodes. Although frightening, sleep paralysis is usually harmless and ends on its own. Some other facts that I read about online, I learned that it could run in families, and you could also have hallucinations. Now, I didn't have any hallucinations, but I have the Reddit feed that I remember looking over, the person was having either what were dreams or hallucinations. And wherever this person is, whoever you are, I can't really ask permission to talk about what you wrote about because I am not a member of Reddit, but I'm just using it as a reference. Other than the Reddit feed and what happened to my sister, I really don't know much at all about sleep paralysis, and I really don't know if that's what happened to me. I do have some chronic health conditions that could potentially have something to do with what happened, but the fact that it's never happened before makes me believe that I had an episode of sleep paralysis. And I wanted to share it just because it was scary. I want to talk about it. And I did call a nurse hotline that night and describe what happened just to make sure that I wasn't having a stroke or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, who wants to think about that kind of thing? And I feel fine now, and I felt fine shortly afterward. So that's why I believe that that's what it was. I think I read somewhere online also that it could tie into narcolepsy, although I've never been diagnosed with anything like that. It can tie into health conditions, but sometimes it can just be that you woke up in the middle of REM sleep. It's almost like your brain is awake before your body is awake. And that's the best way I can maybe put it into my own words. I read somewhere also that while you're in REM sleep, your body tenses up. I don't like to use the word gets paralyzed, but your body tenses up so that you don't thrash around during your dream and stuff. And I believe that that's what happened to me, that I had sleep paralysis because I was having a frightening dream, and that I think I was jolted out of my dream, maybe from the television. Anything could have woke me up, or just the dream itself. And then that's when I experienced this terrifying feeling that I couldn't open my eyes and that I couldn't get up off the couch. Oh my gosh, I can't even really describe it. It was so scary. If there's anybody else out there that knows a lot about sleep paralysis and wants to add their input in the comments, wants to correct anything that I am talking about, feel free to do that. Because I don't know that much about sleep paralysis, I don't know if it's listed as an official medical condition or a side effect of a medical condition or just a sleep phenomenon, almost like a little mystery that we have to solve that ties into our dreams and how dreams affect us. Because I just don't know enough about it, I don't want to go in depth talking about sleep paralysis, but I do think that that's what happened to me, and I hope it never happens again. It was so scary. So if anyone else has been through this, or if you know anything about the subject, I would like you to share your thoughts about it. Help other people understand maybe more of what this is. Like I said, I only briefly researched the subject, just enough to where I could put together this episode and talk about it. Thank you so much for listening, and I am opening up the comment section if you want to share your thoughts on this very unusual subject.